Okay, good evening everybody. Welcome. We've obviously got no members of the public here. We are expecting a celebrity appearance this evening from Councillor Whitelaw at some point during the meeting, because she wanted to come and join us on a couple of the topics that overlap with CASE and where CASE is going in the future. So she'll be joining us at some point. Meeting's being recorded. Does anybody else require taking their own recording in any way? Apologies for absence.
Councillor Ryler, I emailed out about her absence earlier today. So if you want to take a vote on accepting her apologies.
Thank you. Any requests for dispensations, etc.?
No.
And any receipt of updated disclosable personal and pecuniary interest forms? No. Okay. I'm going well. And similarly in terms of officers, there's none.
No.
No. Okay. What I will say here, by the way, I'm not sure where to say this, but I'm conscious that the CASE committee is, of course, going to be sort of winding up in its current form, and I know that the suggestions have been that other committees should be picking up on exactly those sorts of climate concern issues along the way in all other business. So I'm going to ask that we are conscious of that. I'm not sure that I can ask the question of every single item, but please be conscious of it. And if people, I know we've got representatives from CASE here and so on who are more than capable of picking up on these issues. So do please give us a prod if you think that we should be considering something more depth. Are any items on the agenda to be discussed in private session? I can't think of anything. What do you think?
I've got none to advise the committee to do in private session.
Okay. Minutes of previous service provision committee meeting. The minutes have gone out for everyone to see. Has anyone got any queries on them?
Have you looked at members and officers' personal indisclosable pecuniary interest in items on the agenda? Item 73.
Yeah, I think so, but yeah, which way is there something?
Any member want to declare an interest? It's just the usual ones, I think. You've got Councillor Rand.
Well, I'm related
Right.
to.
Yeah.
I'm stepmother to.
You're still
Councillor
related.
Moses. Still related. Yes.
She's still related.
Yeah.
And Councillor Ransby is on the trustees,
Trustee of
the usual
yeah.
arrangements with that. Sorry,
Yeah.
I kind of looked at it and didn't really think it through.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
On the library?
Yeah, just on library.
Oh, yeah.
Connection.
On the youth?
Well, it's not Holly use, is it?
Well,
KYA.
KYA.
Yeah, so not directly, no.
Right, thank you. Yeah, minutes of previous meeting held on 4th of November. Can we note the minutes of that meeting? Anyone got any queries? Thank you. And to receive information regarding ongoing matters arising from those minutes.
Yeah, so item 242555, which were the minutes of a previous meeting. Still to arrange a meeting of the maintenance and toilets tendering steering group. That will come up later in the agenda anyway. And also, I still do need to progress the removal of the sharps bin. But all other matters are referenced in the agenda items tonight.
Can I say that I have just in recent days urged Jen to make a formal complaint to Kirklees that this hasn't been actioned about the sharps bin, which I consider to be a health and safety hazard. Has anyone got anything they would like to? Nothing else then? any matters arising? Anything anyone wants to query in terms of other matters that may be arising from? No? Okay. Thank you. Moving on to item 76, the Service Provision Committee budget and EMRs. Understanding orders, the committee makes financial decisions for a number of community assets and projects, and it's about reporting the expenditure against the budget lines, where basically there are some overspends and some underspends if you have a chance to look at those figures. Anything that you want to add to
Yeah, just to say, just noticed this evening on C1, the income and expenditure against budget, it does say budget 2025-26, that should be 2024-25. So if I can just correct that for the record. So the standout one is the overspend on the civic, and as the committee is aware, that follows a series of recommendations and resolutions made both by full council and by yourselves as well. And a more realistic situation is reflected in next year's budget, so that situation should not arise again. The underspend regarding Christmas provision, £1,582, we're yet to receive the invoice from Kirklees for the tree provided for Holmesburg, so that accounts for most of that. I have chased it up a couple of times, and I'll chase it up again after this meeting as well. So that's why that is. There are some underspends, such as, for example, budget line 4730, the minibus. What that represents really is that we're not quite yet at the end of the year, and because of that, I would say that document C2, the projected budget expenditure, gives you a better picture of where you're going to be as a committee at the end of this year. And I know that Rich has made quite a detailed narrative on that document about particular budget lines, so I'm happy to answer any questions anyone's got about any of those budget lines or EMRs.
Does anyone have any questions at all? Thank you. So we just need to note that in that case. And we can move on to the next item, which is authorisation of regular expenditure.
So this comes up at this time every year. The regular expenditure just to help the smooth running of the council's finances really. The only thing that's changed since last year is our electricity provider now at Holmesburg Toilets is E.ON Next, which I know we've looked at it earlier meetings as well. And again, happy to answer any questions about this.
Any questions? It's a short meeting. Thank you for the question, Councillor.
I've got a question about the energy provider, E.ON Next. So,
Who is it?
well, it's more a question to you guys, people who were on case before. Do we have one in tariffs where it's green energy only, or is it one of these tariffs where it is?
That was why they were chosen.
So that's already in place?
Yeah.
What's the better than this? Yeah.
I just didn't recognise the name. There are two companies, one's called E.ON and one's called E.ON Next.
Oh.
And it's important when you're in whichever one it is that you know which one you're in. Otherwise you ring the wrong company. And they were the same company and they're not now.
Right.
Yes. Funny that.
So you need to resolve to authorise those specified items of expenditure.
Yeah, I'm just going to propose it. That we
Thank you. Seconder?
Yeah.
Thank you. All in favour? I know we're going to pick up on a number of these areas of expenditure in another agenda items, aren't we? Moving on then to item 78, which is the Christmas provision grant evaluation. So this is reviewing what we have done. You've got the information there. You've also got photos of the trees. I dashed around like mad. Got the photos apart from one in Hayde Edge where the wind was blowing so much.
Not unusual, is it?
No, quite. It's rather blurry. As a general comment, I have to say that as you know, we approached the scheme in a different way this year. I think we probably had less teething problems than we expected. I want to pay tribute to Jen for all the work that she did, because there was quite a lot of proactive prompting, wasn't there, of people to get their forms in and so on. But you did really well there, Jen. And as far as I'm concerned, every major centre of a community had a tree, with one exception being Waldale, which didn't in this case, but that's not for the want of trying. There was a tree actually in Waldale, just didn't get decorated. It wasn't provided by us, it was just there, to our surprise. Hopefully they might, I think we might be prompting them earlier next year to...
Well, I think, it's a tree with a root.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Rusty and the regulars of Waldale Arms sort of heard that Kirklees were no longer sponsoring, so they went out and bought a tree and stuck it in the and yeah, they sort of beat us to it.
Do you know if they're intending to decorate it in future years, and in whether there's any intention to apply for a grant? Because, you know, we're very aware, aren't we, that Waldale isn't getting...
Yeah, I said I'd speak to him later this year about decoration, and maybe we could assist in some way. But I know that Lawrence looked at the cost of a cherry picker.
Yeah.
Decorated, and it's expensive.
Yeah.
So
That was their only request, really. Could we have a cherry pick? No.
Is this a very big?
No, but it will be at some point.
Well, surely Glenn's talked about this before. How do the other you're a
Well, it depends.
how do you get to the top?
It depends if it's a tree that's in place permanently or it's one that's put in the ground every year. Because we put ours in, but what we do is we have to decorate half of it while it's on the floor. And then 6 blokes lift it up and try and put it in the hole. And hopefully get it straight at the same time. And then you can decorate the bottom because it's head height below. So we have to decorate the top half first. And then
Right. That's useful to know.
Yes, I suppose the tree's what, 5 foot, 6 foot tall?
Oh, a bit more than that, I think, but I think it's doable. Having shinned up a ladder to do the top of Hayde Edge tree, I'm sure it's...
Could they not chuck somebody's cut up there and call the fire brigade? And then say, what have you got there?
Just put this in the front. Oh, we've got an angel as well.
For the record, she's joking. Tom?
Yeah, I personally like to thank the chair and clerk for the help that they did with the new mill at Christmas tree. We were quite late getting the form in, but we got the tree eventually and got it up. There was a bit of there was a few comments because the form was later being filled in. There was nobody's fault. There was a few things going on down at the club at the time, and there were some comments on the new mill page, community page, about there being no tree there in the normal place. But once it got up and there was up at the club, it actually looked really, really good.
Yeah.
But when it was up, there was a few times it blew over. So they've actually putting things in place for next year so that it's much more solid in place and things like that. But yeah, it was absolutely brilliant, really good.
I thought it looked better than the tree that has been, and the better location for it.
Yeah, and it was better actually with all the decorations around the railings as well.
Yeah.
It just looked really good once it was up there. And next year, hopefully we'll have this in place so it'll get the funding for it next year straight away, and it should run more smoothly. But thank you very much, and I thought it was a good job.
Thank you. So, unless anyone's got any other questions about that scheme. Firstly, we need to note grants awarded to 3 others, to the Clodius Arms in Netherthong, Royal Oak in Upper Thong and New Mill Club, which weren't noted at the time of our last meeting, they were late ones. So we're noting that, that's okay. We're noting evaluations received to date from Honley, Homebridge and Home Village. So we'll obviously be chasing for the other evaluations. Pretty sure we know what they'll
It's
say.
worth telling, sorry,
Oh, go on.
I think we talked about this in F&M, that if they don't provide evidence, they don't get the ruling grant.
Mm.
I agree.
Yeah, go on. Chris?
I'd like to note that the bit we've put in the application and the feedback about what's happening with regard to the climate emergency, I think has been useful in that. Clearly from what I've read here, they have at least thought about it and made some mitigations. So I think that's good that we do that.
I think you're right. I mean, I'm sure there's more that can be done still. And I know you've raised, very much so in the past, other things that could happen in terms of when lights go on, and possibly having living trees. Waldale do have just enough undecorated one, but
Yeah, it's to the post. On one of them, it notes that they had it on for an hour and a half less each day, and maybe good practice like that could be encouraged with other applications.
It was better, because I think with the Kirkland Streets, I think they're all the time, they're all night. Whereas like the one at New Mill Club, they stuck it on about 5 o'clock and left it on until about 11 o'clock and turned it off then. And also, Kirklees ones were normally the lights are still on in about 15th to 16th of January as well. Whereas these ones were off before by the 6th or whenever it came down.
Yeah.
thank you. I do just want to make a comment as well about the situation at Netherthong, which was that they ended up having 3 trees in Netherthong across the village, 2 of which were funded by us. So I think I'm right in saying the community association came to us, and that was ideal. That's exactly what we were looking for. The church had one anyway.
Did they ask for permission from London to put the tree?
Did they? And then at a late point, the Clodius Arms said, "Oh, could we have a tree as well?" It wasn't just a tree; it was all over the shop. It was decorated. It looked great. And we made the decision that because there was enough money in the fund and it wasn't going to otherwise be spent, we would support that. But I think possibly in the future, that perhaps wouldn't be our priority. Sorry, Pat.
I'm concerned that a small village should have had 2 trees, we could have kept the money,
Well,
didn't
that's
have
what
to
it
be
is.
spent.
Sorry, one other quick mention. I did get the member of the Hepworth Community Association that came forward and thanked me as well. Unbeknownst to me, I always thought the pub paid for the Christmas tree at Hepworth, and they did do so about 3 or 4 years ago, but since then it's been taken on by the Community Association, so that's money that I'm going to save, and it's good that it's getting, so it is going across to all the wards, so it could in Hepworth.
I mean, they're obviously paying for electricity from the pub, aren't they? Because
I assume so, yeah.
But I assume so, yeah, because it's literally outside the pub. So
Yeah.
I don't know where else it would come from. But thanks for that. Yes, check.
So just to say, the 3 grants that came in late, all of them did say they'd like to be considered as rolling grants, but my advice, and I know I've talked to Councillor Bailey about this, is let them apply through the proper system next year, because certainly one of the applications probably needed further work, and I just think, rather than just granting them a rolling grant on the basis of what they've said so far, let it go through to progress through another year, if that makes sense. So that the application has been considered in full first by the committee.
Do you want to apply that to all of the applicants, or just the ones that weren't good enough?
You've already made rolling grants for the others,
Right.
subject of course to them getting their evaluations in.
I think the other thing about the rolling grants is that we're not saying how much it would be, what the sum would be. The amounts that we were giving were higher than the cost of the tree, which is fine because it also then paid towards the decorations. But you might like to think perhaps next time, well, you've already got the decorations now, you know, so, and which does mean perhaps the total cost should spread further afield, you know, there's possibilities there.
Keep an eye on tree inflation.
Tree inflation. In terms of numbers of trees or cost of
In
trees?
terms of how much they're asking for,
Yeah,
because it might cost them as much next year for the tree
yeah. Well, it went up hugely
as
this
it
time.
did this year with the decoration.
Yeah, well, yes, the cost of the trees suddenly soared from having been held as the same for quite a few years, I think, from Kirk's, and suddenly went up a hell of a lot. Anyway, but we still thought it was a reasonable price. Any other actions that we need to consider?
No, just to say this is a bit of an interim review really, until you've got more of the evaluations in. So it will be on the summer meetings agenda as well.
Thank you, everyone. Moving on. Ponley Library. Friends of Ponley Library submitted a report which you hopefully had a chance to look at. Interesting report in terms of developments and slight changes to plans and so on. Does anyone want to say anything? If anyone want to raise any questions about the report, or anyone who's in touch with Ponley Library want to make any comment?
I'm not sure there's much more that I can say that's in the document, apart from the government has released this week a new scheme to replace the old community ownership fund,
Oh,
Excellent.
which it seems to be, it's called something different as you would expect, but looking at it high level, it seems to be supporting the same sort of areas, so
So,
there could be an opportunity there.
so they presumably have to start again with a brand new grant.
Yes,
Another
yeah.
£10,000 grant to complete the grant.
I would imagine so. I mean, the details haven't been released apart from the government has sort of said high level that they're gonna have a fund that will be called. I can't remember what it's called, but I only heard it. No, the end of last week I heard it. So
I'm delighted to hear it.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll be relieved. Anyone else want to pick up, Jen?
Yeah, just to say, talking to the chair, there may well be substantially revised plans to consider at your summer meeting, and the works, as I understand it now, may be commissioned in phases rather than all taken on board at once.
Well, my understanding was that was kind of tacitly, well, overtly agreed, and sort of tacitly confirmed when the Heritage Funding Lottery went away. You know, but if that's come back, I haven't been to a meeting recently, I don't now know whether they're hoping to go back to build it all in one go, but they've certainly got new plans which were designed by the architect deliberately, that half could work and look good until he raised the money for the second.
And also, just to say that the whole Future Libraries Inc. very good news that Kirklees library services staffing will remain in place. So.
Mary?
Just about the COVID memorial garden there, so there's been some progress. The 5 apple trees have been planted on Saturday, no, Tuesday, the 18th of March, so that's the next thing. And the opening is, as it says in the report, on Saturday the 5th of April. But by that time, there won't be much else that will have been done. The Friends of Ponley Library have taken over the planning and the execution and delivery of the garden, and we, Parish Council, is going to pay for the hard landscaping materials. So we're just waiting now for the Friends of Ponley Library to come back to us and ask us for some money really for those.
There will be 2 benches.
And there will be 2 benches, and they're providing benches, absolutely. So yeah, just reminding people about the opening on Saturday, the 5th of April.
Thank you.
I wanted to say my some date on the COVID memorial.
Don't know anything else?
No,
Or is that enough?
no, just exactly as you said.
No further action, we don't decide, we're just noting this. Okay, thank you. Moving on, Coldfirth Civic Hall. Again, we've had a report from, was it from Dawn? I think it's from Dawn.
Yes.
Does anybody want to add anything to this? Anybody in the room want to add anything to this? Councillor.
Formally object to the foyer stairs landing drawings and the ideas they're doing, because we should be looking at the whole plan. There's supposed to be a grand vision for the whole building, and if you were thinking to change the space which is now the cafe area or other things, why would you be focusing on the hall when you haven't actually got the grand plan? And also, it's a very boring, amateurish suggestion that we put in there. It's horrible. Sorry, that's personal.
Is anyone got any, I'm going to bring Steve in a moment. Is anyone got any other comments or questions on the report before us?
Yeah, I wondered why the energy efficiency scheme grant application wasn't successful. Were we just completely ineligible, or did we not put a very good application in? Is it something we can try again? We were at, a few of us were at an event in town Saturday before last, talking to councillors from all over the country who were telling us how easy it is to get money for doing energy efficiency upgrades on buildings like this, and we struggle to understand why the Civic is having such problems.
I can find out, and I'll get some feedback from Dawn about that and email it out when I've got it.
Yeah, thank you.
I think perhaps a little bit on the back of what you were saying, Alison. I mean, I found the comments about where we're going at the moment with this project for the vision document quite vague in here. So this isn't a comment necessarily about what the vision is, but about the process.
They're paying a lot of money for a vision.
Well, we haven't paid anything yet. We
Well,
are,
we're in next budget, but yes.
Yeah, and it is coming out. We have said, I know Steve will go, you know, we're looking at it coming out of next year's money, but I thought the project might start earlier, even though they're going to invoice us next year. Do you mind if I just hold on, Steve? Yeah, Chris.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify our relationship with the management of the Friends of the Civic Management Group. I mean, do they have to run past us what designs they have for the foyer, or is that something that we devolve to them for them to make decisions on? What is the relationship?
I'm not sure this is necessarily answered that question, but I bumped into Alex Bray today, and he said that there was a very productive meeting last week. Were you at that meeting?
Yeah.
Which was Councillor Bellamy, Councillor Lyles, and
It was the meeting to start reviewing the lease, and that came out of the discussion about whether or not a different relationship in terms of the lease would allow the council to claim back VAT. So it was a group that arose out of a full council meeting. That was the meeting that took place Wednesday evening. It wasn't a group that's looking at specifics such as we've got reported here in terms of the plans for the foyer and so forth. That wasn't the purpose of it. But one of the things that did come up in the meeting in terms of reviewing the lease was ensuring that what you've just talked about there, the relationship, that there is more clarity about it. So because it's a good question, I haven't got an answer for it. I mean, I know an example with Honley Library in Full, as you've known from previous meetings, they always ask for this committee's approval. But that's not been, I don't think that's been quite the same relationship in the past. I'm trying to think if we approved, for example, the works to the toilets and things, and I don't think we did.
No, we didn't.
I mean, the project on the toilets here.
it was my impression that the previous manager, general manager, was more keen on autonomy than the current management is. And therefore we will probably be more involved now than we were when things like the toilet planning was approved by the previous manager.
I wonder if those people, Councillor Firth or Councillor Dixon, you've been around on this for quite some time.
We kind of like let them get on with it really, like they put the plans in place and decided what they were doing, like we were more willing to show faith in them to let them do what they wanted to do with the structure of the building. They showed us the plans and things and various ideas, but it was more a case of them being responsible for the maintenance and what they did, and it seems to be a bit more 50-50 these days. But we did have people still on the committee though as well, councillors who were on the committee.
So we think that there may be more clarity about the formal sort of relationship going forward, which coming out of these conversations happening at the moment, but we can ask that question.
Because what if the Civic Trust get a vision plan from the architects or whatever, want to go ahead with it and are happy with it, and we don't like it? Then where do we stand? Can we say no, we don't want that, or do they have autonomy in choosing the vision to go ahead with? Because this is going to be a big thing for the Civic in the future, isn't it? And I don't know the answer to that question, and I was wondering if anybody else did.
I think at this moment in time, my answer would be, for example, with these plans for the entrance foyer and so forth, the trust has, as I understand it, got the funding and sought out the funding for it, and would see it as being the trust project. I don't know if Steve would want to comment on that, but I mean the whole issue about refurbishing the foyer and so forth, it was discussed several years back at this meeting. When I say discussed, what I mean is the trust informed the committee that this was a project that it was looking to develop, and I don't know if approval was sought as such, but it's just sort of going ahead.
Personally, I don't care who's in charge of it, whether they're in charge of it or they have to seek approval from us. I just think we ought to know the situation. Because are they sending us those plans for the foyer for our approval, or are they just sending them for our information to know?
For our information.
I think we are, but in the end, if we don't give them the money for it, it amounts to approval, does it not? They are never going to raise the money for these things. They struggle to break even with running costs. They're never going to raise the money for any of this. So,
I'm sorry, Steve, I will come to you.
Yeah, I'm thinking back about it now, when they originally were planning to do the toilets, they were planning to do the foyer as part of the same thing, it's kind of all going together. And so it was all linked at the time, but I don't know if they had enough money to all do. The toilets cost more than what they expected and everything, so the foyer didn't end up getting done. And it does kind of need doing, but I've got a couple of thoughts on this. I remember when I was doing up my house, first of all I do the bits which were furthest away, so then I wasn't taking a lot of crap through the new bits which were nice and done.
let's lay a new carpet in the foyer.
So it leads me to the point there is there's talk about a lot of work being done in other parts of the hall, and although the foyer does look a bit naff at the moment and old, and it does need work on it, and it is the first impression that you get when you come to the Civic Hall. It's the first thing you see when you come in. So it is really important that something does get done with it. But is it right to do it now or not? That's one of my questions. A bit for Steve. And the other thing I was going to mention is, well, looking at the plans, and part of the naffness is like when you see the floor when you go in. Is the floor anything special? According to the plans, they're going to keep the floor the same as it is. And I think if you're making everything else look nice and leaving that the same, it looks a bit weird. It's like you're doing half the part of the job. And I didn't kind of agree with Alison about your comments about it. It's quite good having the TV in there, but I quite like the artwork in there, the plaque's
It's
quite good.
absolutely not a good idea.
No, it is good to have a TV in there because like when you go into these places, it'll advertise with different things on there, and there'll be things going on
No, I
there.
think the foyer is the right place.
And that's quite a good thing to advertise other things actually going on there and
Robinson
stuff like that.
Kids.
I think that's quite a good thing to do. But I do like the artwork that's in there, the three big bits, and let's talk about moving them somewhere else. So is that another part of the scheme, or we're moving them in here or somewhere else? I don't know.
Well, we don't know, do we?
Yeah, it's a bit.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, we've got a lot. There's quite a few questions in
concerns
this.
me that we're farting about with the foyer and where will the art go and all the rest. And nowhere on any list is there anything about double glazing, new boiler or insulation. It seems to me until they're done, the rest is completely irrelevant.
Or redesigning the shapes of the rooms and things. Because that is a grand vision, isn't it? About
Yeah.
But this comes back to the vision
Yeah, but
report, isn't it?
the vision is one thing, the order in which you achieve it is another.
Yeah.
And it will be better run, it'll be more economically viable, it'll more likely break even if we get the heating and the loss of heat fixed first before we pretty things up. I think it's absolutely
Right.
critical.
I guess the one thing that's missing for me is that they've got some ongoing projects that they're looking at, and then we've got a redesign foyer. What I've not, any finance as I see it for 23-24, I've not seen anything to say what we're planning on doing next year, what are we planning on spending, and what are we planning on spending it on, because we know some of that cost is going to come to us. And I would like to see a breakdown for what they're planning on doing in the next 12 months
We have
financially.
seen that, we discussed it 6 months ago or more.
Well, I meant it more really, I didn't see the foyer then, so I guess the question I'm asking is, has that plan changed or is it exactly the same? Because the one we saw was spread over a number of years, wasn't
Yeah,
it?
I mean, we could do with a 10-year plan, quite frankly. Because it's going to take.
But that comes back to the vision. Steve, I'm going to bring you.
I'll try and answer all of them.
Yeah.
Start with the foyer.
And noting that you're not accountable for all this, you're a representative.
The foyer is an inherited project that started before young Alex Gray took over the chair. And I'm like-minded with Tom. I think it's putting the cart before the horse. That until Alex took over the chair, there was no drive to have a vision document. It was, oh, let's amend this bit, let's do this bit, and the whole thing is completely uncoordinated, uncosted, and just visionless.
We are being recorded.
Now I'm being careful in how I say what I'm saying. And, you know, this is why I'm impressed with the way Alex Gray is chairing the trust, in that he is driving towards a vision of the Civic Hall in 10, 20 years' time, long after the likes of Andy and I would have dropped off the trust. And yeah, the entrance hall is an anomaly, basically. It's been on the cards, as far as I can make out, for about the last 3 or 4 years. And it's been a case of trying to get funding for it, grant funding from somewhere to do it. I don't think the flooring that's there at the moment is of great value, to be honest with you. The space is of value, but the flooring isn't. And the loss of Jim Robertson's artwork, I think, would be a loss. I'm not sure there's anywhere else in this building that they could go and be appreciated. And yeah, we are on hold to a certain extent until we get the vision document. And my feeling is that the trust will be looking for the approval of the parish, so that the vision document is a joint document. That, you know, that there is a seamless join between the trust and the parish, and that there won't be any conflict.
Do you know why there is nothing more in the way of a detailed schedule at the very least?
I think until we get the vision document.
No, I mean a schedule on exactly that.
Oh, I
On
see.
when we're going to get the vision, because that's really vague in
Well, to a certain extent, the vision document has been pushed onto the trust by the parish. And because we the parish have been pushing it, it's sort of pushed everything else aside. And the trust has now realised that the vision document is the important one, that nothing can be done until the vision is complete. I think that's the current situation.
Perhaps it's for us via Jane to ask that question then of
I think, us pushing that the vision document start earlier, because I think at one point the vision document was envisioned for the end of this year.
Correct, and we asked for it to be brought
We
forward.
asked for it to be brought forward.
Yeah.
So,
Sorry, do you want to carry on?
No.
Okay, I'll come back to you.
Steve, the vision board that we've got here, it says vision board for discussion. So is this something that's being put together by the architects following discussion, or is this literally just a starting point? These are the kind of things we are suggesting to you.
That's my impression,
Right.
that this is an idea. I would rather have had the architect saying idea A, B, C, D and E, rather than A. Now, whether
And you don't think the trustees have been presented with a bigger range of stuff?
Not really.
What we're seeing is what they've seen. Yeah.
And it's a bit of a learning curve, I think, for the trust and the management of the civic.
Yeah.
That we're into, from 2023, we've entered new territory. That there wasn't the coordination. I got the feeling from talking to an ex-trustee of the civic hall that the trustees were sort of not really involved for one reason or another. Not through lack of trying.
Mary, you had a question?
Or a comment, really. Maybe I haven't been paying attention, but I don't remember seeing anything before about the foyer stairs and landing development, and it just seems to me an absolute nonsense to go ahead with developing that before we've got the vision, because presumably part of the vision will be, I don't know, like a theme around the colour scheme or style of the furniture or whatever, right throughout the building, and to just go ahead with this seems fairly pointless. I mean, are we in a position to ask the trustees or to communicate with the trustees to say to call a halt on this until we've actually got the vision document? And I'm also pretty unimpressed by what's been put in front of us there. It looks horribly corporate, and it seems to me to bear no relationship whatsoever to the building, the start of the building. So if that's the best that can come up with so far, then I think we should be calling for a halt, a rethink, and a pause to wait until we've got the vision, and then incorporate whatever that development is into the whole the development according to the vision.
Okay.
Can I say, just apropos your comments, Steve, that they haven't really got a vision, the trustees, then we should have the vision.
Yeah, well,
because we want this to be a multifunctional space with lots of exciting ideas, and I want them to come with a list of things, and we can go, yes, but they're not.
yeah. I mean, this goes back to, if you like, the management or the running of the trust prior to 23.
Yeah.
The trustees were essentially not involved.
No,
I was a trustee then.
And
yeah.
I have to be very careful what I say.
Yes.
Yeah.
But the impression I have been given was that the trustees were there to rubber stamp. And I won't say anything further than that.
Sorry, just one sec, Tom.
Yeah, it's like the foyer is kind of like a legacy project, and there's been
Yes.
lots of what's happened since. And I think with the vision document and any work that does get done, it's important for us to relay to our people who are on the trustee of the building, so they can put the points across as councillors. And as councillors, we do kind of have a veto on this because we pay for all of these things. Unless the Civic Hall Trust can also manage to get some funding of their own, then it's a bit different. But as long as they're relying on us for the money, then we could always say we're not quite happy with this, or you try and do this and make these further changes. So we kind of do have that power, and as the owners of the building, we have that power as well, I suppose. Everything that they do want to do has to be run through us at least. So if we're not happy with it, we can let them know.
Sorry, Alison.
I was just going to add that that's kind of a negative, like, no, don't do
Yes.
that. But I would like to say what you would like in it, you know, a more
Yes.
positive.
Well, we can put that through across to Steve and Andy.
Following on
So,
from
Hey, just one second, sorry.
I wanted to clarify a point Stephen made about the foyer project. Have they got funding for it, or are they going to apply for funding for it?
They are they had funding, or I believe they thought they had funding at one point. Now, whether that's still ongoing or not, I don't know. I'm not up to date
I won't
on
ask
where
the
they
question.
are.
Based on the discussion here, we don't think that's a good idea to be applying for funding for or spending funding money on. Now, if they've got money that has to be spent on that project, then they've got, there's nothing we can do about it. But if they haven't, then I think we should be saying to them that we don't really approve of this. And we would prefer that for them to be focusing on the things that Councillor Collins mentioned before they look at things like this and before they come to us for more money.
Did you want to respond? Sorry.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I thought we'd already got past this stage somehow, and that we had agreed at some point a while ago that what we want is a vision for the whole place, that not just for the foyer, we want the whole area, and to look at the different, we've got the bigger, the larger hall and the lesser hall, and is that going to stay? What are we doing with this room? Are the clerks having a proper office instead of that little cupboard over there? What is going on with this building, and how could it be much, much better than it is now? I thought that's what we were going to be doing.
And be viable economically.
Absolutely, yes.
I think the vision has to be bigger even than that. I think we have to be involved, and we should be part of briefing the people who are writing the vision.
Yes.
I want to know what the brief was. It's not a design brief. And I think we have an important input, and I'm not saying we should take over, because we've got the time, the skills and everything else, but that we should be part of what it is we want the building to, we should be telling the architects what we want the building to fulfil in terms of people's enjoyment and expectation. I don't mean saying we want a room for this and a room for that. That is there. That's what the vision document should do. We should be saying we want it to be, and we probably need a working group to sit down and work out what we do want it to be. And I think we need to think in terms of, by the end of 10 years, we would like this building to be fulfilling the following.
I have a sense that it's not just a working group. We perhaps need a large meeting that involves as many people as want to come from both this council and the trustees and the management of the Civic, and bring people together, perhaps with the architects there as well, and have a broad open discussion, rather than us sitting here and saying this is what we want and they're sitting there, and we have just some points of crossover but not everything.
It's only as good as the brief that we write.
It is. And I bet there hasn't been a written brief.
So I'm not sure who was first.
Well, they can't possibly write a document without a written brief.
Sorry?
Fine.
Yeah, go on.
Oh right, well, we were, some of us, 6 of us, 5 of whom I think are here, can't count, went on last Saturday to a grassroots democracy day at Huddersfield University called Not Westminster, and what was very clear from that is that community involvement would be possible, because the more we get the people of the Home Valley behind the vision of the Civic, the more likely it is to happen. And we had a number of speeches where people, councillors and other people, it wasn't just councillors, up and down the land, because they came from right across the country, were talking about how they've done that very thing. And if Frome can do it, we can do it.
In fact, I was going to say practically the same thing, really. Yeah, we do need to involve the trustees and all of the parish councils, but we also need to gather the views of the community on how they wish this building. Because obviously we're spending a large part of the precept on this building, and it's important that those who are paying the precept do have a say in how it should be used. And they may have brilliant ideas, going beyond anything that we can envisage.
Would it be acceptable to you if we try and move towards something where we don't include the public at the moment, but we do plan that afterwards, you know?
If we're writing a brief, then I would have thought it would be important to include, unless we've gone beyond that point, I would have thought it was important to involve. Have a big, just, it wouldn't take long, I mean, we could just have a big, the same kind of meeting that we had to kind of launch the climate emergency thing.
Can I just be facetious and say I joined in the brief years ago for the renovation of Greenhill Park, and most people wanted an ice rink, and we're still waiting.
No, but hang on. You said, just because they say they want it doesn't mean they'll get it. There's nothing green about a bloody ice rink. You know, we consider what the public, we in the end will make the decision.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to bring this to conclusion. I'm conscious that Chris asked a question before that you've not had an answer to yet, which was about the funding, that particular grant.
I'll come back and I'll check the status of the funding and come back to you.
Thank you.
Okay, anything else you want to say in conclusion, Steve, from comments that you've heard and your observations?
I think essentially the trust and the parish are working at the moment in sort of parallel, and it's just becoming, you know, it needs to come together, which is a vast improvement on what went on before.
Okay, well thanks everyone for, there's obviously a lot of strong feeling about this and a lot of ideas and so on. I think we've given it a good airing this evening, but we'll carry on with this and we'll look at what the possibilities are, you know, both to bring us together with the, as you say, with the trustees and the management in an open discussion, and at what point we'll bring the public in on that consultation. So, okay. The next item, there's anything else to discuss to conclude from that, is there?
No, but I'm going to put down as an action for myself to give some feedback first to Dawn, because you know that's officer to officer, if you like. And some of the things I'll include in that feedback is that there's certainly some misgivings about the removal of any sort of proposed removal of the 3 plaques. Because it's seen as part of the heritage of the building and the character of. And also, and I know Steve's going to do this as well, but I'll ask about where the funding, is the funding in place or not, and where exactly they are with this project. Is it something that could be paused until the visioning exercise has taken place?
Can you also pass on that our criticism, you know, our concerns are not about the management of the people now. But we are are content that they are moving in the same directions. As Steve said, sometimes it's parallel rather than it's not as close as it might be, but that it's not in any way a recognition of lack of confidence or anything of that sort.
Okay, thank you for that.
I mean, I think it is one good thing to notice that the work that was done before Christmas, the roof is no longer leaking. Which I think is probably the first time for about 40 years. You know, rather than budget the builders, we've actually had some builders who know what they're doing.
And the staircase is starting to look better as well, stairway.
Yes. I mean, to a certain extent, a good coat of paint would probably be the best thing to do.
Thank you. I'll draw this to a close, this particular item. The next two items, 81 is the Gartside Buildings update and general report on this. And then it's followed by the public toilets, but there are overlaps between these two items, I think, aren't there? Do you want to
Yes.
say what you want to say from that?
Yeah, there certainly are overlaps, and there'll be a little bit of sort of going forwards and backwards between these items, really. But there have been some personnel changes at Epics, and I would say that compared to previous meetings, not really had a lot of contact with Epics between the meeting on the 4th of November and now. I can say that they are now paying their rent by standing order, so that no longer needs chasing up, that's all sorted. They had some issues with the fixed wall heaters in the building before Christmas. Those were wall heaters that had been installed by the previous tenants. The issue got resolved by our maintenance contractor who sorted that out for them. I've been in touch with Epics to confirm that solar panel installation will go ahead, but that the date's to be confirmed. So, but they know there are going to be some changes, and they've also been forewarned about the condition survey being carried out. So that's the Epics part of it, if you like. There's a working group meeting scheduled for tomorrow, Tuesday the 25th, which is looking at the sort of bigger issue of the condition survey and what works are needed, for example, in terms of roof repairs before the solar panels can be installed and so forth. So there is progress being made there. There are a number of outstanding tasks for me as clerk to do in terms of the rental unit. There is still the notice board that needs it ordering and installing. You've previously approved payment for that. And there is also the reimbursing for minor redecorating costs that were encountered in bringing the unit up to standard. So that those are still on my to-do list to do as well. I think that's all I've got to say about this particular part of it. And there'll be more to say under the item 242582, home for public toilets.
Has anyone got any questions or any comments about what you've heard so far from Jane? Or if not, we'll move on to the other part of this, which is the toilets, etc., and the condition survey. Yeah.
Okay.
And by the way, Sarah, if there's something where you want to make a comment, if you let me know, and then we'll.
Thank you. Suspend standing orders. Yeah. Right. So to reiterate, there is a working group meeting tomorrow. The condition survey has started. It's focused first on the roof, due to the fact that we are ready as a council to move forward with the installation of the solar panels. Planning permission and so forth has been obtained. However, following a comment from Councillor Morgan at a case meeting, very rightly pointed out, well, surely the condition survey needs to happen before the installation of solar panels takes place. So we have had the condition survey started. We've had some feedback regarding the roof, and because of that, it is clear that there are some repair works that are needed to happen to the roof before the solar panels can be installed. So where we are with that, we've got one quote so far from the roofing contractors that most often work with Waldell Electrics, who are the contractors for installing the panels. So we've got one quote for the work, which is £3,430, no VAT on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, I should have said that.
Okay.
Right.
We'll not have any more conversation in public session
Right.
about any of these figures and so on.
Apologies.
Details.
I'm trying to give you information, but I'm sort of jumping ahead of myself really. So what I will say is that we are seeking other quotes for the work as well. And the working group will be looking at those quotations. The coordination of all of this is proving to be an urgent priority, and I would want to thank the home architects who are doing the survey for the cooperation they've given in speeding up getting the roof survey done, so that we can try and keep somewhat on track for having the solar panels installed as well. Okay.
Does that all make sense to people? There is quite a lot going on, you know, there's a lot of different strands to the whole project, but it is actually all being managed centrally, you know, rather than different places.
Yeah.
Any questions, any comments? We don't need any approvals at this point, do we? I don't think.
No.
Alison and I are meeting tomorrow morning.
Yes.
Have we got Matt Cromack with us?
Yes, hopefully, yes.
Yeah, yeah.
That's what I was going to add. And the general review is looking at the improvement of the toilets inside and out, so there'll be more to come quite soon.
Anything you want to say, Tom? You've been involved in this, I know you can't come tomorrow morning, but
Yeah, no, nothing more really. I think we're waiting on the report coming back, aren't we? And then we'll know more about what we need to do with the internals and the externals. The roof bit's more to do with the solar panels and getting that bit in place. Is it what's the problems with the roof as well?
The ridge tiles were all loose from some lifting off,
Oh right.
and some of the electrics inside are relieved of the 12 watts belt, and then the coping stones on the side, what do you call those, which is birches, what do you call those things at the end, they're coming away.
the coins or something like that.
What do we call
The
them?
coins?
Is it just general decay like over the years?
Just not metal,
Yeah.
water.
I think we've had the toilets for. Everyone looked at the toilets. I'm looking. It was when Kath was chairman the last time, Kath Bellamy. So it was it's about 10 years. It's about 10 years we've had the toilets. So we haven't really done much on the externals of it. We've done works on the internals, but not on the externals. So it's probably about time to spend some money on it. If you leave it for so long, it needs to be done eventually, doesn't it? So,
No, it's
Turn
easy
into
to
another
fix.
Civic if we don't.
yeah.
No, it's not.
Smaller.
Well, we'll come back with detail anyway, and if there's any...
Yeah,
Yeah.
so he's on with it, and he's looking at things that can easily put right.
Alison's done a really good job with this because I haven't had as much time as I would like to do into this. So she's doing really well. And then keeping an eye on things. So yeah, not what I need to do.
Yeah.
As much as we can do tonight. Thank you, everyone. Moving on. Other assets, benches, stone shelters, etc. So you've had a report from John. Hopefully you had a chance to look at that. Is there any questions about John's report? We also had a report from Home Village Residents Association about the four-stage repair of the phone box, and that is going to be attended to. There wasn't enough money in this year's budget to deal with it, but it's extended into next year, so we are using some of next year's budget for that specific piece of work.
Yeah.
We're making the assumption, of course, that there's no other phone box. I know that John does go out and regularly inspect phone boxes, so we're assuming there's no others, you know, for repair or whatever. If that is different, we'll just have to work that out at the time. Anything else any other questions on this? On generally on maintenance and phone boxes, etc. I know how exciting this is.
Yes, so just to say, I hope what I've said in the narrative about how we're funding the refurb of home phone box makes sense. It's a little bit complicated, but obviously the whole point of it is keeping the refurbishment within the council's budget. So that's why it's all being a little bit strange. I do just want to talk briefly about Hepworth War Memorial. So I've drafted a grant application to the War Memorials Trust, which addresses all the points made in their response to the pre-application that we submitted. It was back in October 2023 that we had a quote from Tomlinson's regarding that work. We are going to need to get 2 other quotes in order for the War Memorials Trust to accept the grant application, and that's proving quite tricky to get people to give quotes, but that's where we're up to with it.
Will they compromise on that in terms of the number that they require? They must know this as a problem.
Well, the issue was although they haven't got approved suppliers, they do provide you with a list of people who have done work in the past regarding grants to the War Memorials Trust. So there is a kind of approved list, and of course some of the, a firm that is down in the Midlands is not necessarily going to want to come up here to quote, and I've exhausted all the ones who are, let's say, within 70 miles. So it's kind of, I could go and get quotes from it's quite specialist work as well, so I can't. A lot of our local stonemasons, are declining to quote. So I'm just going to have to find at least one of the quote, I think, from somewhere. I doubt that they're going to accept it on one quote, that's for sure.
My new neighbour is a stonemason.
Right.
So
Is he approved by the...
don't know, but he works on Salford Cathedral.
Might be there.
I'll, if you want to email me some details tomorrow.
I'll ask him.
Lovely, thank you.
Just an idea as well. Okay, nothing else to consider. Sorry, approving the refurbishment of the phone box at Home Village.
Yeah.
Opposed?
No, approved. I'm either seconding, proposing, voting, whatever it is you want, Chair.
Okay, I'll take that as a proposal. Thank you. Councillor Osborne, seconded. All in favour? Thank you. And to consider recommending to full council placing the underspend of £200 with regard to the War Memorial budget line towards possible expensive repairs to Hepworth War Memorial. Proposed? Seconded? In favour? Thank you. No other actions, I don't think, on this. Thank you. New Mill Close Cemetery, I don't think there's much to report, is there?
No, still need to organise a meeting with the church authorities to review the work specification. Apologies to Councillor Bailey because I know he's been reminding me of that regularly, and it is on my list of things to do too.
Can I make a comment on that? Not my usual. The only observation I'll make on this is, as you know, I'm a friend of the cemetery in Honley. Go there 2 times a week. Kirklees have cut back considerably on the work they're doing there. Just putting that there for information.
That's helpful, thank you. Yes. Yeah. I think, we obviously don't have any others under our responsibility, but we're aware that Kirklees did have responsibility for some, so that is helpful. Next item 85. Oh, I love this one. Okay, public area litter and dog waste management strategy from Bob. Okay, so there are 3 things broadly to report, I think, 2 of which I'm happy to report on. Do you want to make say anything about the Kirklees approach about the bins around town?
Yeah, just to say that I know Councillor Brooke, as Kirklees councillor, has been chasing up or involved in looking at bins across Holmfirth and trying to establish whether any belong to the parish council. And it is absolutely the case that in the past, some of the bins in Holmfirth came from the parish council, and in some refurbing of bins and replacing of bins that happened back in 2021, there were 3 bins that the parish council made a contribution towards in order to have them replaced. However, my understanding is that all the bins in Holmfirth come under the responsibility of Kirklees Council, being the authority that has the duty to empty and collect rubbish, which clearly the parish council does not have the duty or authority to do. But I think there is some lack of clarity over some existing bins which are very difficult to empty and are decaying, about who is responsible for removing those bins entirely, because it's going to cost some money to remove them. So there seems to be a little bit of dispute going on about this. Kirklees have not been in touch with me directly about this, so I'm really sort of quoting bits and pieces that I'm hearing from other people. That's all I can tell you about that at the moment.
So let's watch this space on this one.
Yeah.
Okay. The second thing on this topic is the dog waste bags and providing them. And the working group has recommended that we will consult with the volunteers who are currently on our list as refilling the dispensers and so on, and find out just how effective it is. There's some questions about how these bags are being used or misused, abused, or whatever, or the supply of them. But also to consult with all councillors on this parish council about it for any comments, so that we can reach a view as to whether how this programme works. Yeah, is that fair enough? Yeah?
I think that's very fair, Lawrence, yes.
Tom.
At Sands, by the bridge over the river,
Yeah.
not the pedestrian bridge, by the swimming pool, the bridge, the road bridge.
Can I come on to Sands in just a second, because that
Oh, right.
goes into the third
Okay.
thing that I wanted to talk about.
Alright, the other thing I was going to mention about dog poo is doing my area, my personal war on dog poo, and it ran my area. And there's been loads of it around recently.
Yes.
We went into Holmfirth a couple of weeks ago, and there was loads of it around. There was a dollop of it outside my brother's office where he works. There was some a bit further on by Holmfirth Mills, and all over the place. And what is wrong with some people at the moment? Really infuriating. Including some near, like next to the road where I live, is at the bottom of where the New Mill Juniors is. And there's a huge dollop there outside where the holiday club is and the breakfast club for some kids go to. And then another one further up just below the entrance to the actual school.
Well, is there something we want to do about it?
It was actually bins. Well, I actually did suggest that we get a new dog bag dispenser outside by the New Mill School. And I sent through the photo of where it should be on the box, because that was something we were going to do, and it's not been done yet.
Okay.
I sent a photo through of
Yeah, I know. We talked about
on the lamppost. It's not been done, so that was something that I'm just going to
I
chase
think
up.
we just asked John to go and fix it, didn't we?
Yeah, I've misunderstood this. I didn't think you'd actually made a decision that you wanted the dispenser fixed, because the whole dog waste
Yeah.
strategy was under review.
Yeah.
And I thought it was pending the review, because if you're going to decide as a committee that you're no longer going to do this, we don't want to then.
Yeah, I thought that was the case.
Okay.
That's why I haven't really chased it up, and I didn't need to be, if I was being aggressive then about it. I was just mentioning that's why it was being done, but if we are going to do that, it would be good there. And I think that would be a good place for it, but saying that, I've seen it before where we've had these dog bag dispensers like the one in Hepworth. We've had it there, which is where I am, and a bin next to it, and then where you are, someone's left the poo there. And it just infuriates me.
Trish.
While I absolutely share Tom's concern over dog waste, I also very much approve of the dog waste bags and would be very reluctant to see us stop funding those, because no matter how hard you try to take dog poo bags with you when you go out for a walk with the dog, sometimes, you know, I used to, when I had a dog, I used to go out 4 times a day with mine, and inevitably there were times when, you know, she pooed more than once on a walk and you didn't have enough poo bags with you. And I'm doing a dog walk with a neighbour's dog at the moment, and she does it 3 or 4 times on one walk in different places, because wait for it, every time she finds somebody else's poo, it's like it's a competition and she has to go as well. So I do my very best to take sufficient dog poo bags with me, but I have seen, I go to Cliff Wreck every day, I see a number of people using those, and the people I've seen are just taking one because it's an emergency and they use it. And I think were we not to be funding those, we would have an awful lot more dog poo on our hands, if you can.
On our hands?
Very probably.
Joking aside, I've actually been walking back
Not
from
funny.
I've walked back from dropping Aidan off at school, seeing this huge amount of poo there right next to it, and some kids are walking by, and I've gone into my pocket and I've found a bit of kitchen roll and a bit of snotty nose, and I've gone and picked it up, it's a kitchen roll, put it in the room yourself.
Yes.
And it's not pleasant, but
No,
like,
it's horrible.
I'd rather do that than some little kid walking it and then
Yes.
trips it all around the school and causing a problem.
Yes.
It's just so annoying.
Sarah's sitting there being really envious that Kate's been
This is what you're missing out on.
In the case of schools, and I know we're not allowed to give grants to schools, but is there anything we can do where schools might wish to do something about it? Well, we could at least give them a bunch of bags or something.
We've
so
done that
the
before, we did,
caretakers-
well, as about a bunch of bags, we certainly said that, you know, whether we could work with schools, and Kirklees could do that as well.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be us, but I mean, of all the obvious places to start, the ins and outs of schools seem like the obvious place.
Can I, before, you know, we're going too much about this fascinating topic, can I say, we will consult, okay, and come back for further conversation about this. Yeah, is that all right? Yeah, is there anything, Tom, that?
Yeah, actually quick. We did do a pilot quite a few number of years ago with Upper Forming School where their kids designed a poster, and then we gave them some money to put. One of them won. We decided which one won, and then they put some up around the schools and stuff like that. Might guilt trip some of the idiots, but I don't think it will do. They'll still let the dogs poo everywhere.
Are you suggesting capital punishment or something?
No, it's just really annoying. Really annoying.
From the owner's nose.
Working group about this, didn't we? I can't remember what
Yeah, there was a working group
about
working on it.
schools. We did, I thought we talked in the working group, I can't remember what the outcome was, but we'll perhaps have another look at it in the working group. As to
They
whether
did
we
mention
do
it to the head teacher at Newell School about possibly doing something with them, and they were very keen on it as
Yeah.
well if we did choose to do it. I'm
Okay.
happy to approach them for you.
Okay, thank you for that. The third item, final item on under this item is about the situation at Sands, which is illustrated here. Okay. So, the position with this is that, and you might want to sort of add in here, Tom, what you wanted to say just a moment ago. The position at Sands, which we discussed previously, is that there are two temporary not temporary bins, sorry, there are two unofficial bins, one by the stone bridge and one by the other metal bridge near the car park, which are really difficult in terms of, you know, they're unofficial, they're being emptied by volunteers who are struggling at the moment to keep up with that task. So the recommendation was that we should move towards a point where we are advising and guiding people who are using the park that they can use the other bins, the normal bins, and should be, and then we can get rid of those unofficial bins. We've got an EMR for this, and went to Kirklees saying we would fund up to 4 bins bought from Kirklees at a cost of £400 each, but which are marked very clearly as being for litter and dog waste, but on the condition that they would not be just in the same positions as they are now. But the reason for these photos is that not only, as you can see on the bottom photo, that at least that a couple of the bins there are in a really poor state and definitely need replacing, but around that skateboard park area, there are about half a dozen bins within about 50 metres of that, and none, or virtually none, right through the rest of the park, right up to where the bowling club is. And where, of course, the new path now goes. So we're trying to encourage use of that path. And we know a lot of dog walkers are up in that area around by the football pitch and so. Kirklees said that they would replace a couple of bins. We're happy for us to pay for those. But it wasn't possible to put them in any other locations. We'd have to stick with the same locations. So I'm coming back to you. Well, this is partly about just fitting them in other places and partly about the emptying of them.
Because they can't get the van all the way down there, so.
Well, there is, I don't want to give away too much of my views on this, but there is one bin actually that's by the play area, just outside there, which is a stone's throw from the one that would be replacing the unofficial bin on the Stone Bridge.
So that would be possible.
You'd have thought so. Any views? I've got views. Tom?
The one by the Stone Bridge. I thought we bored the volunteers who are doing it. They're trying to do something about it. They're trying to fix the problems, but they're obviously struggling. And a lot of people seem to use that one with the dog poo. Well, you probably won't. You shouldn't stick it in the one next to the kids' play area. You don't want to do that. But like, so the one by the bridge is the logical place to have it. But when I came back the other Sunday, this is nothing that annoyed me about the dog owners is it's full and there's all these bags on top of it and all these bags around it. And it's like, what's the point in doing that? And it's like, so somebody else is going to have to go pick up your bag of your own dog and put it in the bin or get rid of it. Can't you like take it home? Like what we used to do is if we had it with the dog and there was no bin, put it on the back of your wiper on your car and then take it home with you and put it in your bin at home or where there is a bin. It's just grim.
Yes, it is.
So like we could really do like with like I know you are thinking the same one, so a proper bin by the bridge and more bins because there's not enough at the moment for what there is.
But there's too many near the skateboard park and not enough in the rest of them.
And if we've put in that beautiful, Kirklees have put in that beautiful new path and encouraging people to use it, and I think people are going to be using it more, but lots of those people will be dog walkers, and therefore, logically, we need more poo bins that end, don't we? Because, as Tom was pointing out, some people don't even pick it up, and some people, when they do pick it up, do not want to walk to the other end of the green, of the park, to be dumping their dog poo that end. Why can't we have some bins there? It doesn't make a right lot of sense, does it?
My inclination is for me to keep pursuing this with Kirklees. Is that kind of the feeling around the room?
Yeah.
Yes. Ultimately, their remit, bins and waste, as earlier, so.
This is a Kirklees. I mean, we're looking at paying for something that is a Kirklees facility.
But if we weren't offering to pay for it, there would still be that need from the public for it to be done, and it would fall on Kirklees.
Well, there's another question here actually that I've not been able to get a clear answer as yet as to whether those bins are going to be replaced anyway, but in the same location at Kirklees' expense. It's not quite clear whether that's on the programme of renewal or not because it's in a park. Tom?
They spent a huge amount of money on doing up the play area. They put a new area next to where the Mugger court thing is. the whole path. Stands is looking really good now, it's really good. Just a few little touches like replacing these bins and a few extra bins. It's not going to cost a lot of money, but the little bits which are letting it down. And like I said, they spent hundreds of thousands on this path and everything like that. So just an extra couple of thousand just to finish it off would be really good.
Yes.
Okay. Unless you're going to advise me any differently, I'm just going to take that as a feeling from the meeting and report back at another time. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Tourism. I've sent a report out, not seeking anything from this committee. If anyone's got any questions, I'll happily answer them, but otherwise it's cracking on. Okay. Youth work in the Home Valley. Sarah, was there anything you wanted? Do you want to be part of this conversation on youth work? If you do, I'll
It's
suspend
perhaps
standing
useful
orders.
for me to say why I decided to come, if that's all right. But not, have you said anything so far?
No, okay. No, I just said there was some overlap with case and various other things.
Precisely.
But, do you want me to suspend standing orders? I can suspend standing orders.
Well, it was simply that we're coming up to the last case meeting.
Okay, hold on. All right. I'm going to suspend standing orders, if that's okay. Is everyone in agreement? So that Sarah can speak to you. Thank you.
So because we're coming up to the last case meeting, it seemed to me sensible to come and listen to the conversation here about the things that are related to case matters, particularly environmental stuff and community engagement, and so that was why I thought I'd come along. So.
Okay. You didn't want to, because I know you have an interest in KYA as well. So I didn't know whether you wanted to be involved in this conversation. You don't. I'm not pressing you to do.
No, that's fine. I mean, for a point of information, if you like. So you're at the KYA part of the agenda, yeah. So I'm a trustee at Cafe 100, and one of the things that we have decided to do is to engage with the KYA managers about the ways in which we move forward. And it seems to me that the way that the parish council engages with youth needs to be part of that conversation. And particularly that, and I'm speaking for myself now, I think that one of the things that we as a parish council need to focus on in the second half of our term is how and why we need to engage much more effectively with youth in the valley. So it's a multiple layered thing, really.
Okay, thank you. We've got a report from KYA, which hopefully you've had a chance to look at. Is there anything more you want to add to this?
Yeah, just to say that it was reported at the last meeting about Cafe 100 has moved to the tech because the space at the church was no longer maintainable, and I think the church was withdrawing its permission. There is a grant application submitted to Finance and Management for consideration next week to pay for rental costs, so just be aware of that from Cafe 100.
Has anyone got any other questions, any comments about the report that you've had from KYA? No? Or anything that you want to pick up with Sarah being here for, representing, not representing Cafe 100, with an interest in Cafe 100 in particular. Tom?
Have the numbers increased since they moved to the tech, and what feedback is there? Are they happy with their new location?
Yeah, it would appear so. Well, not appear so. The reports we get a monthly report from Tyler, who's the youth worker who works at the Phoenix as well, as you probably know. And the big advantage of being at the tech as opposed to the church is that it's got different spaces which can be used for different activities. So when there's artwork, craft work, they can use that studio. When there's music work, they can use that area. They can use, we've now got the pool table in the cafe area of the tech, and there's also the kitchen. So that multiple use facility, it far outweighs what was available at the church. And it was a case of the condition in the winter. You know, we were approaching a health and safety issue really with the cold and damp, which was not the church's fault, if you like, that they're under pressure, enormous pressure in terms of their maintenance of their buildings, as we all know. So it was a multiple choice, if you like, reasons to move on. But yes, the young people who've been going have been very positive thus far, and we hope to recruit more.
Good.
Of course, the previous premises had a very particular, although it had much more limited facilities, it had a very particular character, didn't it, I think, which presumably is very different in the tech, but you're saying the young people have responded well to the move.
Well, and of course the group, if you like, is a movable feast. It's not the same kids there for all the time. That it's a rolling, changing audience, if you like. So some of the ones who have come most recently had only spent a very short space of time at the church, and one would hope, and we'll be doing some surveying and feedback. One would hope that they'll be putting out the word to their mates about the things that they can do, and yeah.
Thank you. Belinda, anything you want to say about Honda Youth? Or,
We have. Tyler's been running some sessions in Honley. Honley Youth is paying, will be paying for some of those sessions going forward. But also we will be working closer with KYA and Tyler to have more of a strategy for what we do over the summer. So Honley Youth has funding available that we can utilise for Tyler to do extra activities. The question is just sitting down and working out what those should look like and when. And then from there we will work out, we've got funding probably will be okay for most of this year, probably till the end of the summer. But we also need to put a strategy in place for Honley Youth to then work out what funding we will need to keep funding some of KYA's time till the youth work in Honley, as well as across the Home Valley, obviously, from Home Valley Police Council.
thank you. Any other comments? Anything you want to say? I know you made a comment about budget line. Is there anything? There's nothing else to be said.
No, I mean, as I put in, that the one thing the committee does need to approve is expenditure of £10,000 from budget line 4760 to Kirklees Youth Alliance for the provision of the agreed youth services.
Okay. So that's proposed. Seconder. Councillor Colling. All in favour? Thank you. Carried. Nothing else on youth? And the main item is public transport, which you've got a report of how we're progressing, which is much better, I think, than we were previously. Quite a number of different avenues that we're pursuing, but quite proactively. Has anyone got any questions on the public transport working group report? Is anyone ready? You read it. You knew what he said it. Go for it, Mary.
I was just going to say that I'm in the course of pulling together an initial response to the Kirklees Council Local Plan Update Review. Sorry, it's got such a long time. And in a way that this group, the public transport group, is producing, has produced, well, through it, we've produced an element on transport for that response. And I just wanted perhaps to recall thanks to Sarah, second man, was it? Sarah Wells, from the Penistone Line Partnership, who's produced a really interesting summary around transport, not just about rail, but about transport. And it's that the document she's produced is the one that's going to go into the interim report.
Thank you. I personally, I'm really pleased with the partnerships that we are developing with Penistone Line Partnership via Sarah, with Epics, via Gina in particular, and elsewhere, and hopefully move things forward. We've got supermarkets interested in what we're doing at the moment, and so on. So there's quite a few things happening in terms of those partnerships, which are really good. I'll conclude that item, and the only other thing I've got on the agenda is items for publicity. Is there anything anyone wants to particularly pull out? Sorry, Sarah.
Can I just ask about what progress, if any, there's been in terms of the park and ride investigations?
I haven't got any update on that, I'm afraid.
Okay, thank you.
The last I know was that Councillor Niles was meeting with the chap down at the proposed site.
Thank you.
And I won't say more than that,
Yeah,
but
thank
no,
you.
I don't have any update. Alison?
And I think we should be making an appointment to talk to Contact.
Yes, yeah, yeah.
Carl.
That's next on
Because we're
the to-do list.
closing the loop, aren't we?
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. Anything in terms of items for publicity, anything anyone would like to highlight? We've got quite a lot going on. I'm sure we can find things to put to Gemma and so on, but anyone want to raise anything in particular?
Well, anything positive we can say about the civic,
Okay.
this is being handled and these happening, just to keep goodwill.
Shouldn't we look it's on the stairs going
Oh,
forward?
no,
That's the
look,
positive.
But if there's any way we can do anything just to big up the civic has to be desirable.
Okay. And, I don't know, talk about things like phone kiosks and, I don't know, we'll come
There
up
are
with some stuff.
always
There's always some things we can do, and Gemma's very good at it. Thank you, I shall bring this meeting to a close then, at 3 minutes early, probably 2 minutes by Tom's phone, anyway.
7 minutes.
7 minutes early.
It was a quarter, it was supposed to be.
Oh yeah, it was, sorry,
Yeah.
my head.
Seven minutes early, yeah.
Okay,
It's always
thank you everyone.
Cheers.